Welcome. I would like to welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you would do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so, please subscribe. But here's where we'll start. Let's think of anything in the world, Think of a car, think of a laptop, think of a phone. Hell, you can even think of a marriage. One thing that needs that should constantly happen is evolution. You need to evolve. In a marriage or in a relationship, you don't want to act the same way you did when you got the young lady or when you got the guy. You want to evolve. You want to get better. You want to grow together. With a car, yes, a 1970 car can still ride, but a 1970 car doesn't feel like a 2021 car. You want that evolution. You want to evolve. You want to improve. Why am I starting with this? I've been a loud proponent saying that the MLB needs to change. The MLB needs to come into the 21st century. The MLB is probably the only sport that you hear a lot of people, oh man, they're disrespecting the game. Do you know how many people get upset because of bat flips? Bat flips. After you hit a home run and then you hear, probably the other team's jawing at you, the other dugouts jawing at you, and then you hit a home run and then you flip the bat. The next day, that's going to be a 5-segment conversation on all these sports platforms saying, was that disrespectful or was that disrespectful to the game? In fact, more than likely, the very next game you play with somebody, they're going to try to hit you with with a 100-mile ball because you disrespected the game. MLB, baseball in general, like I said, is the only sport, in my opinion, that has, I guess, a code of conduct, an old book that doing things, and they try to stick to that religiously. But last night, or 2 nights ago, the MLB did something different. The MLB had a Field of Dreams game. For people that don't know, Field of Dreams is a movie that's pretty much about building a baseball field or a diamond, whatever you want to call it, baseball field in a cornfield. Of course, Field of Dreams, for people that know sports phrases, the famous "if you build it, they will come." That comes from the Field of Dreams. And what the MLB did was they tapped into that movie. They tapped to the anniversary of that movie, and they built an entire field in a cornfield in Iowa. And it was a great event. I think this is the first time I can remember a MLB game that, in my opinion, was more exciting than the MLB All-Star. Because remember, last time I talked about MLB really was during the All-Star, during the home run derby, during the All-Star game. And I said that the MLB does a lot, needs to improve on a lot of things. But one thing that they do right is the All-Star game and the All-Star weekend. And this game was exciting, man. This game was in fact, I'm not the only person that thought that this game was probably one of the best games that the MLB has had in years, because when I think the views came out or something, and this was the most watched game in Fox for in the last 16 years for baseball. Man, I know when you hear, okay, on a Thursday night, the White Sox play the Yankees. Of course, they did. But the fact that they brought it into the 21st century. Now, I understand that the movie is an older movie, but it was just exciting to see. It wasn't the same old go to the park, see a boring Yankees game, see a boring White Sox game. They incorporate some. They brought Kevin Costner. Of course, the famous scene in the movie when the players were coming out of the cornfield. That's the same thing that they did for the game. It was just exciting. Again, I've been loud, and I've been loud, and I've been consistent when I've been saying that the MLB needs to improve. The MLB has so many stars. from Aaron Judge to Otani to Vladimir, Vladimir from the Blue Jays, from Tatis. Like, there's so many young players. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. There's so many stars in this league. That is the MLB that they do not tap into. They don't really. Let's look at other sports. Basketball probably does it best as far as basketball understands that they don't get anywhere, or the NBA. The NBA doesn't understand. The NBA understands probably better than any sport that they don't get anywhere without their players, which is why you see the NBA does probably the best job, in my opinion, to champion their players. The NFL, you're starting to see they're trying to adopt yes, the NFL is still the most popular sport in the United States. They're trying to adopt a lot of things from the NBA because they see the popularity rising from the NBA. While yes, the NFL is the most popular sport in the league, in the United States, you're seeing the NBA catching up. So you see a lot of the NFL is now marketing their players. You see the big campaign for, Madden. Every time they talk about the Madden rankings, the NFL does a big thing with the schedule coming out. Like, you're starting to see that they're trying to make the league. They're trying to make the players more upfront. Now, of course, it's still the shield. It's still the owners first, but the NFL is trying to, because the NFL understands that in today's day and age, people have social media. People have instant ways to connect with the players, and an average consumer is going to connect with a player before they connect with a team. Yes, you're still a fan of the team, but I'll connect more with a Stephen Curry before I connect with a Golden State Warrior. I'll connect to Odell Beckham Jr. before I connect to the Cleveland Browns. I'll connect to Aaron Darnold before I connect to the LA Rams. So the NFL is trying to incorporate that. The MLB has been late to that, and they have probably been the last people to stand on that. Oh no, it's tradition. Now you're starting to see, like I said, the other night was a pure example that if you just incorporate new things, people are going to watch. People are going to be excited. People are going to come. Hell, the famous phrase, if you build it, they will come. If you improve on it, they will come. If you go back to the marriage analogy, if you don't improve your marriage, it's not going to work. If you don't improve the way you talk to your significant other, if you don't improve the way you guys communicate, the way that you date each other, the way that you, just be with each other, it's not going to work. If you don't improve your car, there's going to be a certain point where it's not going to work. And I think the MLB is starting to notice that, and they have to start noticing that, seeing as though the viewership continues to go down. That's one thing that if something's going to change, something is always going to change if it hits the pockets, and the viewership continues to go down. Now, again, I'm here. This is me congratulating the MLB, because the Field of Dreams game, which is the first time it happened 2 days ago, Thursday night, was incredible. It was I was watching the game. I watched this game over summer league games. I was going between this and the Washington and Patriots preseason game, which we'll talk about a little later, but this was exciting. The White Sox beat the Yankees on a Tim Anderson walk-off home run, 9-8. There was 8 home runs. I know Aaron Judge hit 2 bombs out there. It was exciting. It was exciting, man. And, it got me shouts out to Eric Lyons of the Electrified podcast. He was talking, we should incorporate this more, man. We should, and we can incorporate it in other sports. Now, again, next year, why don't the MLB probably do a Sandlot type game? And that's coming straight from Eric Lyons. That's not me thinking it. Why don't they have a Sandlot game? That would be incredible. Why doesn't the NBA have a He Got Game theme? The NFL have a Remember the Titans game or something like that. I just think This is the first time in a while I think the MLB is first to something. As far as this can be huge for all sports. Like I said, imagine going to an NBA game and watching a he got game type. Now the NBA did do that one time where they tried to do the nicknames on the jerseys, which is pretty cool. But again, this is the bravo. Bravo, MLB. This was probably the best game that wasn't a World Series game in years. And the viewership, like I said, I think this was up 16% or something like that. Actually, no, this was up this was probably, I think the report came out that this was the most watched game in like 16 years. So shouts out to the MLB. The Field of Dreams game was a success, and of course, now that you know that it was a success, they're probably gonna continue it or improve on it. But this should show you that the old ways just are the old ways. They're not going to continue to work. Like, people love to see home runs. People love to see bat flips. People love to see, people jawing at each other, players at the top of their games going back and forth at each other. People love that. So when that's not how we do it back in the day. Yeah, back in the day, back in the day, you had people. I could probably be a baseball all-star back in the day. Now, that's no disrespect to all the players that did it, but today is different, man. Hell, if you look at every single sport, the league is different. NBA players are better now than they were back in the day as far as skill. NFL players are leaps and bounds better today than they were back in the day because of skill and because of how the game is advancing. Tennis, hockey, golf, people, every sport is evolving. It's time for the MLB to do that. And I think the Field of Dream game is definitely the launching pad. You've seen the MLB do some things recently that's been kind of hit or miss. They've extended the pitching. They've extended they've extended games. That was a fail. They've extended, you're starting to see the MLB is throwing things to the wall, hoping that they stick. And I think this Field of Dreams game, not saying that they're going to play every game as, at the Field of Dreams, but I think this is something that can definitely stick. So bravo to the MLB. Let's move forward. So I have been going on about, what I said I was going to do is every episode, I'm going to break down a division in the NFL. I've already done the AFC. I've already done the AFC East. I've already done the AFC South. And today I'm going to do the AFC West. The AFC West, of course, consists of the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. And then, of course, next episode, I'm going to conclude the AFC with the AFC North, and then I'm going to go to the NFC. But it's so interesting to me. Of course, every division is not created equal. The AFC North is not the AFC East. The AFC West is not the AFC South. The NFC West is not the NFC or AFC South. Not all divisions are created equally, of course, because some divisions are better than others. But every single division has interesting storylines, man. And I think that's just the beauty of football, man. That's the beauty of sports in general. It doesn't matter which team you like. It doesn't matter which division you like. It doesn't matter which conference you live in. It doesn't matter which conference you love. Every division has storylines. And today, like I said, we're going to talk about the AFC West. And let's start with the Broncos. The Broncos, to me, are in a tough. The Broncos know they're in a bad situation. They're in a bad situation because you have a quarterback that you don't trust. To me, the NFL is a quarterback-driven league. Now, Quinn, I understand you have positions and some of the best players on some teams are defensive players. I understand that, but you're only going to go as far as your quarterback takes you. And the worst position you can be in the NFL is not trusting your quarterback and not having a lane to either get a different quarterback or that quarterback gets better. And like I said, we're talking about the Broncos, so I'm talking about Drew Lock. Drew Lock, he has talent. Don't get me wrong. Drew Lock has an incredible arm. Drew Lock is a mobile quarterback. He has talent, but the problem with Drew Lock is he hasn't really gotten better since his rookie season. And the Broncos, not only is it bad to not really have faith in your quarterback, but it's bad to be a middle of the pack team. Because if you look, just like the NBA, the middle of the pack team, you're not really good enough. Well, you could possibly sneak into the playoffs, even though I don't think that the Broncos are good enough to make it to the playoffs. But you could possibly sneak into the playoffs, or you could just miss the playoffs. And if you just miss the playoffs, more than likely you're not going to really have a good draft position unless you do some trades or something like that. So the Broncos are just in a tough situation. They have some really good pieces. They have Cortland Sutton. He's a wide receiver. Of course, he's coming off an injury. But he's still, when he's at his best, he's still a great player. You have Von Miller, who of course is coming back. Who Von Miller is. They have the Patrick Surtain II, who the jury's out, but he could very possibly be the best defensive player that's a rookie. So he could potentially win Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's just, again, this team right here, which is the Broncos, is a prime example of you're only as good as your quarterback takes you. Because, again, this team is talented. Like I said, you have Jerry Jeudy. You have some good pieces. It's just and again, it goes back to when we talked about last episode with Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. While no, the Broncos don't have their roster isn't as good as the Dolphins roster. No. But one thing that the Broncos do have is they have incredible pieces. Like I said, Sutton, Jeudy, Patrick Surtain, Von Miller. And how a team feels about you by other moves around the NFL. And what do I mean by that? And I talked about this last episode, and it definitely pertains to this one. When we heard about everything going on with Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers unhappy. Aaron Rodgers not wanting to return back to Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers done with Green Bay. What was probably the number one destination we heard him going to? And that was the Broncos. And the Broncos tried everything to get Aaron Rodgers. Now, of course, Green Bay really wasn't budging on trying to trade him, but they did everything in their power to get Aaron Rodgers. Now, again, of course, when Aaron Rodgers is on the market, he just won the MVP. When Aaron Rodgers is on the market, you're going to try you're going to try, especially if you need a quarterback, you're going to try everything in the world to get him. But you didn't hear the Kansas City Chiefs try to get Aaron Rodgers. You didn't hear the Baltimore Ravens try to get Aaron Rodgers. Hell, you didn't. We'll talk about them in a second, but you didn't hear the Chargers trying to get Aaron Rodgers. You didn't hear you didn't hear the Buccaneers try to get Aaron Rodgers. What are the teams? The teams that you heard try to get Aaron Rodgers was the Broncos and the Dolphins. Drew Lock, I think he led the league in like interception percentage or something like that. Like, of course, we know the Drew Lock, the video of him mouthing or lip syncing to or singing the Jeezy song, but the Broncos what they're usually useful, what their calling card has been the last few years, ever since honestly they won the Super Bowl, was their defense. Of course, and you saw even with the moves that they made this offseason, getting Kyle Fuller from the Bears, getting Nate Harrelson from the Ravens. it's a defense first team, and that can only take you so far, honestly, especially when you have an inconsistent quarterback. That's why Drew Lock isn't bad, but he's very inconsistent. And that inconsistency is one reason why I think when you look up, the Broncos are probably going to be the worst team in this division because they don't know what they're going to get week after week from their quarterback, and they have a tough schedule. Hell, let's not just look out or outside the division. You have to play the Chargers twice and Justin Herbert twice. You have to play Patrick Mahomes twice, and of course the Raiders, and we'll talk about them in a second. But you have to play Derek Carr twice. So, and all of those teams, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Chiefs, they know who their quarterback is, and they are confident in their quarterback, except maybe the Raiders, who we'll talk about in a second, like I said. But the Broncos, to me, the question, honestly, looking up is when I think about the Broncos is three questions I have when I look at this team. Will Drew Lock be the quarterback by the end of the year? I think that they're kind of stuck with him right now as far as starting, but we'll see what happens towards the trade deadline. We'll see what happens if he gets, Lord forbid, he gets hurt. But I think that I'm not going to say they're done with Drew Lock, but I think that they're trying desperately to get a better quarterback in there. So, again, question number one, is Drew Lock going to finish the year out? I say no. If he does not improve, or if he continues to play like he played definitely last year, definitely not. I don't think Drew Lock will end the season because the Broncos, like I said, they have a top tier roster, but they're a middle of the pack team because of the limitations that they have on at the quarterback position. So the second question is, will Patrick Surtain II be the best defensive player in the draft? This is probably one of the best drafts we've seen in a while. I mean, when you look up, you have Patrick Surtain, you have Michael Parsons. I'm sorry, you have of course Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Like this was a deep draft, and a lot of people believe that Patrick Surtain was the best defensive player. Now again, well, that's better. We have to see, but I think that's pretty much that's the calling card of the Broncos. Like I said, the Broncos is the team that continues to try to improve the defense. It's a defensive first team, so I think with the players that you have him around, I think Patrick Surtain has the opportunity, especially playing in a system that is Alabama in college. I think he has a really good shot of winning defensive rookie of the year. So that's question number two. And question number three, Von Miller has dealt with injuries last few years. And the question is he still elite? If he's still elite, you don't really, to me, have to worry about the defense. Now, I understand it's one player, but you don't really have to worry about the defense if Von Miller's good, because I think Patrick Surtain's going to kind of feed off him. I know they play two different positions, but which Von Miller are we getting? That's the question pretty much. Which Von Miller? Are we getting the elite, probably future Hall of Fame Von Miller? Or are we getting the Von Miller that suffered through injuries the last few years? So I think that the Broncos have a lot of questions that they have going into the season, probably more than a lot of teams. They're probably the only question, not to mention they have their coach. Their coach is good, but again, when your quarterback is your biggest liability, that doesn't bode well. So we'll definitely have to see where that goes. Let's go over to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I was probably. It's funny. We talked about when the draft happened. We talked about who had the best draft and who had the worst draft. And one team on my list that had probably the best draft or one of the best drafts were the Chargers. They attacked what they needed to attack, which was the offensive line and the defense. Of course, they have a new coach in there. I thought they had one of the best drafts. Who I thought had one of the worst drafts were the Raiders. And it wasn't just the draft. It was the the moves that they made, giving up two starting offensive line players when their biggest struggle last year was the offensive line. Not to mention you let Nelson Aguilar walk. While I don't think he's a top tier receiver, he was their best receiver pretty much last year. But when you look at their draft, they reached one with Alex Leatherwood. Like, they got him first round. They just didn't have a good draft in my opinion. But here's the thing, and here's the thing about the Raiders, man. The Raiders remind me of a team that swings for the fences with the names. And what I mean by that is, you can have a team full of really good players. And the Raiders have a team full of really good players. I mean, when you look at it, you have Darren Waller, who is arguably the third best tight end in the league and probably second best receiving tight end in the league next to Travis Kelce. You have Derek Carr, who a lot of people throws Derek Carr, like a lot of people pretty much forget. I think he's underrated. Derek Carr, when he's healthy and he has a healthy offensive line, he's still, in my opinion, can arguably be a top 10 quarterback. Closer to 10 than 1, of course. But Derek Carr is still a serviceable player. They have Josh Jacob, who I think finished second in Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. They have Willie Snead, who they just got from the Ravens. Now, Willie Snead, they're hoping that Willie Snead is going to try to fill that Nelson Aguilar spot. You have Henry Ruggs, who's a speedster. They hope he can turn into like a Tyreek Hill type situation. They brought in Kenyon Drake, which is another reason why I was so confused about their offseason, was because why are you giving up two offensive linemen when your biggest free agent swing was to get Kenyon Drake, and then you go into the draft and get a player in Alex Leatherwood who isn't better than the two players that you gave up, and you didn't have to pay them much. Like, you had the room to pay them. You just wanted to give them up in trades and stuff. So that I understand that. And then, of course, you have Jonathan Abrams, who was an incredible young defensive player, safety. This team has talent as far as the players, but this team just has a lot of holes, and in my opinion, they're self-created holes. Like, that your offensive line is horrible. Or let me say this, not horrible. Your offensive line wasn't good. Your offensive line was one of the worst offensive lines in the league last year. And what do? You give up your two best offensive linemen and then reach for Alex Leatherwood in the draft. Now, don't get me wrong. Shouts out to Alex Leatherwood. You deserve to be in the NFL. I'm not saying you're trash. I'm not saying you're a bum, but what I'm saying is there were players better than Alex Leatherwood at the position that the Raiders picked. And the players that they gave up are better than Alex Leatherwood. I mean, they have more experience. They're just better. So, and Alex Leatherwood can come out and be an incredible player. He could be a Hall of Famer. If I'm wrong, I will be the first person to come up here and admit that I'm wrong. But it doesn't seem like it. And it's not just the Alex Leatherwood thing. The Raiders always swing. I think it's a John Gruden thing, seeing as though he pretty much has the loudest voice in the organization. But remember when they Kellen Farrell, the dude from Clemson, like that was a reach. While he's been okay, he hasn't been that great. Like, I just don't know the direction that they're trying to go in. I really don't. I mean, you get John Brown from the Buffalo Bills, but that's not really, I don't know. I have no idea. And I think that's the craziest part, man. You have no idea what they're doing. If you talk to some of the fans Shouts out to homie that does the Raiders Spotlight podcast. You listen to him, he don't, and he's like a diehard Raiders fan. They don't know what they're doing. The Raiders. Well, let me say this: the Raiders may know, but looking on the outside, you really don't know what they're doing. And I think that is the only reason. That's what I wanted to say. The only reason why I think that they will be better than the Broncos is because of Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Drew Lock. And I think that they're Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Henry Ruggs, that John Brown, Willie Snead, though that core, wow, no, it's not a great core, and they're coming off an 8-8 season. I just think Derek Carr, in fact, I'm sure Derek Carr is better than Drew Lock. And that's the only reason why I believe that they're going to have a better season than the Broncos. I think that both of the teams have incredible talented players, but as a team as a whole, I don't think that either one of those teams are that good, honestly. Again, I think as a team, the Broncos may be better than the Raiders, but the Raiders have better players, Do I think they're a better team? No, but I think that they have better players. Like, I don't think that there's anybody on the Broncos that's better than Darren Waller. I don't think when we look at the Drew Lock against Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr wins that 10 times out of 10. I do think that, again, the Broncos' defense is better. I don't think that the Raiders have a better receiver, even though you have John Brown and Henry Ruggs. I don't think they have a better receiver than Jerry Jeudy, or Cortland Sutton, but he has to stay healthy. So I don't know, man. I think that those two, while yes, I didn't say that this was the best division, but I did say that this is an interesting division. Because, again, for the storylines, you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the hell the Raiders are doing. I don't really know, or you don't really know what the hell the Broncos are going to do because of the inconsistent play of Drew Lock. So, it's interesting to see, and I'm definitely excited to see how the AFC West outside of the top team plays out. Let's go to the Chargers. The Chargers, to me, oh man, you know what the Chargers remind me of, man? The Chargers remind me so much of the 2018/19 Houston Rockets, man. I think if there was no Chiefs, right? If the Chiefs weren't there, just like if Golden State wasn't there, I think the Rockets and the Chargers would be a lot better, or we'd revere them a lot more than we do. But again, that's not the case. And that's a high regard, The Chargers is one of those teams, man, where they have shouts out to Anthony Lynn. I think he's a good coach. I just think that towards the end, when you're a coach and you're a team that continues to lose close games, I think that's more of the coaching staff outside of the players, and the Chargers believe that too, which is why he got out of there and they have a new coach now. But the Chargers have players, man. Like, you have Mike Williams. He just has to continue to stay healthy, and that's one thing that he struggled with, man. You have Mike Pouncey, the center. It has some good, of course, Keenan Allen, who I think is probably one of the more underrated wide receivers in the game. You have Joey Bosa, who, of course, is Joey Bosa. You have Chris Harris, who they got from the Broncos. Like, this team is great. You have Austin Eckler, who has been a really good, surprising player at running back position. This is a good team, and of course, is being led by the reigning offensive rookie of the year, which is Justin Herbert. I'm an Oregon fan. I think I'm more of an Oregon fan because of their jerseys, but I'm an Oregon fan when it comes to college football. And I firsthand watched majority of the Oregon games, even though they come on late as hell. They come on like 10:30, like basketball games, and football games. College football games are longer, so that was tough. But I watched a lot of Oregon games, and I will be the first to say that I did not see Justin Herbert being this good. In fact, you can go to past episodes. I was saying, yeah, I don't see where the hype is for Justin Herbert. I'm starting to. Well, I've already come on here and said that I was wrong, but I'm starting to realize Justin Herbert. Oregon isn't the best program when it comes to talent around the quarterback, but he isn't Marcus Mariota. Like Marcus Mariota when he was in Oregon was just different. But he was an incredible quarterback, and you see once you put pieces around him what happens. I mean, again, I think that this team is good enough to win the division if the Chiefs weren't there. Now, again, I know that's easy to say because it's like, of course, if the Chiefs weren't there, there's only 3 more teams. But honestly, if you really look at the AFC, this team, in my opinion, is good enough. If it wasn't for if it wasn't for the Chiefs, I think that this team could win the AFC. I think that this team can matches up very well, or at least last year. Now, again, we have to see the continuation, and we have to see, how Justin Herbert does coming, because nobody really saw him coming, even though I think he broke the rookie record for touchdowns. How is he going to improve on that? If he improves, this team is good enough, on paper, top to bottom, to be a top team in the AFC. Just like just like I said, not Miami, just like the Houston Rockets when they had James Harden, when they had Chris Paul, when they had PJ Tucker. Like this, hell, they almost beat the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. It's just Chris Paul got hurt. They started jacking and missing threes. You have Steph Curry on the other end. You have KD. You have Klay Thompson. Like, it's just a tough road. But I think this roster, one thing that was holding this roster back, of course, was the quarterback play. Because if you remember, Phillip Rivers had a tough time getting them over the hump, even though he's an incredible quarterback and probably going to win a Hall of Fame, or probably going to make it to the Hall of Fame. To me, his limitations definitely was glaring when they got close to the playoffs, if they even made it to the playoffs. And then I think that Anthony Lynn, I think I don't know if it was because of his preparation. I don't know what it was, but there should be no reason why you lose that many close games. I think he probably has lost upwards of 5 to 6 close games, and that just can't happen. Games that's like within 10 points or something like that. But this team, and I'll say it, if you don't agree, leave in the comments. We'll talk about it. But this team is good enough, man. This team, from top to bottom, is good enough to win the AFC. If it wasn't for the Chiefs, man, I can see this team beating a Ravens team. I can see this team beating a Steelers team. I can see this team beating a Colts. I can see this team beating a Browns team. I could see it happening because of the play of Justin Herbert, because they have an incredible defense, because they have Keenan Allen and an incredible offensive firepower. It's just they run into they have the Chiefs in their squad. I mean, they have the Chiefs in their division. They have the Chiefs in the AFC, but I think that because there's an extra game as far as 17 games, because they're adding a playoff team, an extra playoff team, I think that the Chargers can definitely make it to the playoffs. It really depends on what happens. And I didn't even mention Derwin James, who is one of the best defensive players in the league. So it really just depends on. I think it depends on Justin Herbert, and I think I am gone are the days where I doubt Justin Herbert. Do I think Justin Herbert is the best quarterback in the league? No. But I do think that he's good enough. If he continues to improve, he's good enough to get them to the playoffs. He just isn't on the, he's not on Patrick Mahomes level, but I mean, is really anybody in the league. So, yeah, man, the Chargers, in my opinion, they just have been dealt a tough hand year after year after year, whether it's poor quarterback play, poor coaching, and they're just in a tough division. But, that's the Chargers. And then with the Chiefs, man, it's the Chiefs, man. It's the Chiefs. The Chiefs, the saying "the rich get richer" definitely applies to the Chiefs. You lose Eric Fisher, you lose two of your top offensive linemen, and of course, that's in my opinion, the biggest reason why you lose the Super Bowl against the Bucks. Because I mean, as you saw, Patrick Mahomes running for his life the entire game. I think his stat came out. He was ran for like 500 plus yards before, behind the line of scrimmage, something like that. Like, that's how much he didn't have protection. And the fact that you go out and you get Orlando Brown, who is arguably the best or one of the best offensive linemen in the league from the Ravens. You also get Kyle Long, who was retired, but he wasn't retired because he sucked. He was retired because he just didn't want to play no more. But he comes back. Now, I think he did get hurt himself, but I think he should be back, towards the beginning of the season. The Chiefs will be trying to get to their third straight Super Bowl. And honestly, I don't really see a team that can stop them in the AFC from doing that. Because if you look, man, and we'll talk about the AFC North. We'll talk about the AFC North next episode, but that's Lamar's biggest. Lamar Jackson has proven that he can beat any quarterback in the league outside of Patrick Mahomes. The Tennessee Titans is an incredible team. Incredible defense, has, AJ Brown, Julio Jones now. They have Derrick Henry, but Ryan Tannehill isn't keeping up with Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs have the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion, Patrick Mahomes. They have the best tight end, in my opinion, in Travis Kelce, and they have one of a top 5 receiver in the league at this point right now in Tyreek Hill. And I haven't said anything about McCole Hardman. I haven't said anything, like I said, about Orlando Brown getting them now. It's this team. The question is, how many games are they going to win? Last year they won 14 and 2. I think they can duplicate that. I think, again, they need to integrate some more pieces, or they need to integrate the new pieces they have as far as the offensive line and stuff like that. But when you're going into battle with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, like, there's not much you can do. Hell, I witnessed. I was at the game when they played the Ravens in Baltimore, and I just saw the gap, man. There's a gap between the Chiefs and most of the teams they play. And when Patrick Mahomes is perfectly healthy, you pretty much I don't see a team in the AFC that can really beat. Now, as a team as a whole, there's of course teams. Maybe the Ravens get lucky. Maybe the Browns see what the Colts do with their defense. Because they got DeForest Buckner, they have some really good players, but I don't really see a team, man. I don't see a team that knock, especially in playoff time. Like I don't see it. I'm sorry, this is not a bigger deep dive from the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just that good, and until somebody knocks them off, it's hard for me to see. And when I say knock them off, I'm talking about in the AFC. Until somebody knocks them off in the AFC, to me they're just the creme de la creme of the AFC. So with that being said, man, I rank in the AFC West. It's the Chiefs number one, the Chargers. Well, let me say this. The Chiefs number one, a wide gap. Chargers number two, another wide gap, and then the Raiders and Broncos are pretty much going back and forth. So that that's what I see in the AFC West. Again, next episode, I'm gonna conclude the AFC with the AFC North, and I wanted to finish with that because to me that is the most interesting division in the AFC, which is of course the Ravens, the Browns, the Steelers, and one more team. I totally forgot. But the AFC North is to me the most interesting. Oh, and the Bengals, and the most interesting division, and we'll talk about that next episode. But that was the AFC West. So, yeah, man, it's to me the AFC West. It's one and then the rest. Now, when I say one, a very far two, and then 3 and 4. So, because and I said if the Chiefs were not in the AFC West and the Chiefs were not in the AFC, I think that the Chargers have enough. A lot of people will put them as a dark horse team, and I would put them as a dark horse team. I just don't think that they can beat the Chiefs. But if there was no Chiefs, the Chargers is a good enough team to make it to the Super Bowl. They don't have Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, that's the AFC West, man. That's the AFC West. So moving forward, man, the preseason. I talked earlier about the Field of Dreams game, and I was watching that and going back and forth between the Field of Dream game and the New England Patriot and Washington football team preseason game. And a question, watching the game, a question started to arise, man. I've been for people that watch this or listen to this podcast, watch this podcast, come to this channel, that I've been a pretty big proponent of Cam Newton. I've championed Cam Newton. A lot of people, like to bash Cam Newton. I'm not one of those people. But the question after watching that preseason game was evident. And the question is, man, is Mac Jones going to start for Cam Newton or going to start for the Patriots? And honestly, it's not as much of what Cam Newton can't do. I think it's more of what the Patriots are. Like, what are the Patriots? The Patriots is a system that it's not a system really built for a mobile quarterback. It's not really a system built for a quarterback that has a big personality. It's not a system built for a quarterback that probably flourishes most when he ad-libs. Mac Jones is not the best quarterback that the Patriots have. Let me say that. In fact, Mac Jones is not better than Cam Newton. No, he's not. But is he better for the Patriots? Cam Newton, as much as I cape for Cam Newton, I'm not blind. I know Cam Newton isn't the most accurate quarterback. And don't get me wrong, with me saying this, Cam Newton still had a really good game, or really good opening drive or opening 2 drives for the Patriots. He looked good outside of maybe 2 plays. He did throw a wild screen pass, and of course the fumble after the Chase Young hit. I think you have to be more aware that Chase Young is coming. But outside of that, he got the ball out quick. He made good throws. He didn't overthrow. He didn't underthrow outside of the screen pass. But That's just two plays. I mean, it is what it is. But watching Cam Newton and then watching Mac Jones, I mean, at the end of the game, Mac Jones went 13 for 19 for 87 yards. He looked like the type of quarterback that the Patriots would want. You know, he doesn't Matt, and we talked about this, and we knew that this was the case during the draft, man. When they drafted him, we knew, he is the prototypical quarterback that, Bill Belichick wants and the New England Patriots want. So while no, I don't think that he is the best player, he's the best quarterback. I don't think he's the best quarterback in New England. I think that's Cam Newton, but I do think that I think Cam Newton's going to start game 1. But if you go down maybe game 6 to game 7, it really depends on not only the record, but it depends on how Cam Newton looks. I think if Cam Newton looks okay, they might go in a different direction. I think if he looks incredible, he's going to force their hand. They have to continue to start him. But if he's okay, and they have some tough defenses that have to play the first 5 or 6 weeks. Of course, we know about how, the famous struggle that the famous September struggles that Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots go through. If Cam Newton, if they look up and they're 3-3 or 2-4 going into week 6, then I think that you're going to see Mac Jones start. Again, Mac Jones isn't the most exciting quarterback. He doesn't have the best arm. If we just go back to the quarterbacks picked in this draft, he doesn't have the best arm. He doesn't have the best. He's not a mobile quarterback at all. What he does is he has good reads. He understands how to. He sees the play. He sees what he needs to see at the line of scrimmage. He gets the ball out fast. He doesn't have the best arm, but he can still throw it. So you're getting a solid quarterback. Now, I think his ceiling is low because he's not a mobile quarterback, because he played in a system where you're having top of the line athletes in Alabama, and then you go to New England where, you don't have the best teammates around you as far as talent wise. I think that, the ceiling for Mac Jones is low, but I think that the type of quarterback and the type of system that New England runs is, and we kind of knew this when they picked him up, is it kind of tailor-made for Mac Jones more than it is for Cam Newton. Now, do I think if Cam Newton doesn't start come week 6 or whatever, do I think it's over for Cam Newton? No, I don't. I do think that now I understand he's 32, I believe. Of course, he's dealt with his fair share of injuries in the past, but I do think that he still has, he still has game left in him. I just think that, and I think this goes back to last year. The biggest question was, does Cam Newton fit the New England system? And we all know what the New England system is. And that was a big question. Now, Cam Newton did the best he could, especially with the turbulent season that not only the New England Patriots had, but the league had in general, of course, with COVID and everything. But, and of course, Cam Newton catching COVID and getting picked up late for historically a tough system in the New England Patriots. So I don't know, man. I think Cam Newton looked good when he did play the few drives that he did in the first preseason. I think Mac Jones looked good when he played, and he had significant more time than Cam Newton. I just think that watching Mac Jones and watching Cam, it kind of just showed, you saw the type of quarterback that New England Patriots want in Mac Jones. That's not a knock on Cam or anything, but you saw the type of quarterback that Bill Belichick wants in Mac Jones, and we really need to see what the Patriots look like come probably week 5 or 6. If they're struggling to keep afloat, then it probably over with as far as Cam Newton starting. But we'll have to see. We'll definitely have to see, man. And another story, and probably the story that's been the most confusing last week was the Michael Thomas versus the Saints thing, man. And this to me, this story is why I am so now again, we don't know the entire story. Of course, we hear one side, we hear the other side. But this story is one reason why I am so confused, or I get upset when I hear the whole loyalty thing. Now, the story with this is Michael Thomas, as we know, last year was tough for him dealing with injury. He got injured in a play in garbage time minutes, and the play wasn't even like for him. He got his ankle rolled up on, and of course he was out. Reports are saying that the team told him to wait. The team first cleared him and told him to hold off surgery. The team told him to hold off surgery, and if they would have got surgery at the moment, he probably would have missed the rest of the season, but he'll be good now. But the team told him to hold off surgery, continue to play, and as we saw, Michael Thomas did not look right at all last season. And we knew it was because he wasn't healthy, and of course he missed the end of the season because it just got too bad. And then he elected to wait until late. I think he elected to wait like extremely late to get the surgery. So now he's going to miss probably majority of the season this year. And of course, you're hearing back and forth. You're hearing the Saints say, he hasn't communicated with them in months. Then you're seeing, Michael Thomas like tweets saying, the Saints are the reason, how are you getting upset with me? But the Saints are the reason why this is happening, and they lied to me and this, that, and the third. And now, of course, you're hearing them saying that, Michael Thomas and Sean Payton, the head coach, are trying to patch it up. But this story is why I always I get the whole loyalty thing, but I don't understand at the same time. It's because I understand that you don't want to be considered a player that just continues to bounce from place to place to place to place. I understand that. I get that. But a team is always going to do what's best for them. Always. It doesn't matter your health. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much money you make them. The team is always going to do what's best for them. There should be no reason. We all saw and knew that Michael Thomas was not healthy last year. And the fact that the report came out saying that the team told him to hold off surgery is crazy to me. But then again, if they tell you to hold off surgery and you go and just are god awful, they will trade you or they'll drop you in a heartbeat. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know who's telling you. I don't know what's going on. But I do know that Michael Thomas and the Saints are in a bad spot. And let's go back to a marriage analogy. When you or let's just go into a relationship analogy. When you start airing out your grievances on social media, and or when you feel the best way to air out all your dirty laundry is through social media and not communicate with the person, you pretty much know the relationship is over. Now again, you can come back and you can reconcile this situation, but that's very rare. It's hard for me, and for people that want to say, but what about Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers didn't do much talking until the end, and he's back with the Packers. First and foremost, they restructured his deal. He's gone after this year. Do not think that there's a chance in heaven or hell that he's coming back to the Packers. Don't please God, don't think that. He's gone. And while he is more financially smart to play this year out, which he knows, he is gone. Look at any other play. Look at Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs looked miserable in Minnesota. And as soon as he said, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm out. I can't do this. He taking, he's liking tweets saying Kirk Cousins is overrated and garbage. He's out the first thing smoking to Buffalo, and now look, he pretty much transformed the Buffalo's offense. Once you start airing out your grievances for a team on social media without talking to them, especially for 2 months, yeah, nah, it's over. I'm not saying that he's not going to come back. I'm not saying that this can't be rectified, but trust and believe, it's very rare to rectify something like that's not something that you usually see. And again, we'll have to see what happens, but I don't know, man. I don't. It's just it's tough, man. It's tough because you don't. Usually, when you start airing out grievances on social media, it's because you feel you can't talk to the organization, or you don't want to talk to the organization, or you lost trust in the organization. And this is the organization that's paying you millions upon millions of dollars. So the fact that you don't even trust them enough or want to talk to them, that speaks volumes. So, I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out. And another thing that isn't lost on me in this situation is the wide receiver position. Even though there are some world-class talented wide receivers, there's Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas. There was an argument probably two or 3 years ago that Michael Thomas could be the best wide receiver in the game. There was an argument. I mean, the Drew Brees connection with him and Drew Brees connection was damn near unstoppable. But the thing about wide receivers is they're at a premium. Like, people view wide receivers as just people pretty much view wide receivers easily replaceable. And the fact that they'll trade a wide receiver faster than they'll trade a quarterback that's disgruntled. Hell, we're still trying to figure out when the hell Deshaun Watson will be traded. You see how hard it was or how long and how messy it took to trade Carson Wentz from the Eagles? Or you see how tough and how messy it got with Green Bay and people that think it's resolved and it's just put on hold for this year, but trust me, he's gone after next season. But wide receivers, hell, Julio Jones out to the Tennessee. Hell, Odell Beckham Jr., probably the best wide receiver arguably the Giants have had in damn near 20, 30 years. Gone like that to the Browns. Hell, and the Browns were thinking about trading him again or trading him. So it's just interesting to see how this is going to play out, especially seeing the injury history with Michael Thomas now, which is why it frustrates me, man, because yeah, there's an injury history, but the team didn't do well. If the reports are right, the team didn't do the best for him. The team did what's best for the team, which is always going to happen. And if they would have done what's best for him, first of all, he wouldn't have been in their garbage minutes. They were up like 17 points with like 2 minutes left. Unless they're playing freaking Aaron Rodgers, there's no chance of coming back. And I don't think they were. So it's like, you endanger him at that point, and he feels like, I got hurt for no reason, pretty much. And then you tell me to wait, but then yet, if my production goes down because of my injury, it's easily tradable. So it sucks, man. It sucks, but we'll definitely have to see how it goes. So, and it's definitely interesting because this is the last thing the Saints need, especially. It's a new era for the Saints. We've known this to be the Drew Brees team for the longest, and now that this will be the first year that Drew Brees, is retired, You have Jameis Winston, more than likely starting. You need everything else around them to be okay. You need the wide receiver core to be all right. You need Alvin Kamara in the running game to be good. You need the defense to be as good as it's been the last few years. So this is the last thing that you need is this type of turmoil going into a season that already has a lot of question marks and already has a lot of quote unquote new beginnings. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting, and especially in the division that the Saints are in. This is the last thing that they need. So we'll definitely. It's definitely interesting, and I want to know how this turns out and how this plays out. Will Michael Thomas be on this team by week, I don't know, 5, 6? It's definitely interesting to see. So we'll see. Moving forward. So let's go over to a little bit of basketball, man. So the summer league is going on right now, and now I understand that the summer league is not the NBA as far as it's not a good representation as far as the talent, as far as team wide that you're gonna play. Like, hell, for some reason, Talen Horton-Tucker for the Lakers isn't playing. I don't know why, but he's not playing. Like, you're not getting the star athletes playing in the summer league. But that doesn't negate the fact that every single game I watch, man, it just reminds me of how different and how good the league is now. And how man, if you look any given night, the biggest draw was Cade Cunningham played Jalen Green the last week, and they both were incredible. I think Cade Cunningham had like 20 points, and Jalen Green had 25. But it's not just that, man. It's the talent that is in this league right now, and coming into this league as rookies is man. Like, if you look, man, Cade Cunningham has been incredible. Jalen Green, you can have an argument, what you've seen in the summer league, that he could have been the number one player. Now, I think that the ceiling for Jalen Green is lower than the ceiling for Cade Cunningham, and I think Cade Cunningham has a lot more intangibles that Jalen Green doesn't have, but Jalen Green is still a monster. Now, Jalen Green is out with, I think, hamstring tightness for the rest of the summer league, so I hope that doesn't sideline him for, preseason and everything in training camp, but I hope he gets well soon, but he's going to be out for the rest of the summer league. But even still, the talent that we're seeing from Cade Cunningham, from Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs has been incredible. We saw a putback dunce. He had 25 points the other night. Sharif Cooper, who went in the second round, who a lot of people thought was good enough to be in the first round for the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know how that's going to work with Trae Young, but we see him hitting game winners. Jonathan Kuminga. Now, what you're starting to see is, with Jalen Green, with Jonathan Kuminga, they look different than a lot of other people. Not because of just the talent, but playing in the G League is not playing in college. Playing in the G League, you're playing with grown men. Now, understandably, there are some players that's in college that's better than G League players, but playing against grown men, kind of playing a quote-unquote NBA type schedule, it definitely shows. And Jonathan Kuminga looks incredible. Jonathan Kuminga looks now, we understand he's a project. He still needs to work on his shooting, but he looks a lot further than I thought he would be. Evan Mobley looks good. He looks like he can be I know the comp is Chris Bosh, but he looks like he could be better than Chris Bosh, especially when we talk about the defensive side of the ball. And Cam Thomas, man, the Brooklyn pick, who I think he went to LSU. Like, he looks like he's good enough to I'm not gonna say start for Brooklyn. That's no, but he looks like he will be playing some very important minutes for Brooklyn. All I'm saying is, man, these players coming into the league, man, is just different. And that's not There's a lot of players I didn't mention, man. And these second year players look good too. Like Trey Jones looked good. He had 32 the other night. Like it's just the league is in good hands, man. The league is in good hands, and I'm excited to see what's moving forward. I think right now I'm still gonna put my money on Cade Cunningham being the best player out of this draft, because of his intangibles, the ceiling, his shot making ability, his shot creating ability, his defensive ability, his height, his ball handling. He does everything in my opinion. So I think he'll be the best, but I wouldn't be surprised if you look up and Jalen Green is the best player out this draft, or Jalen Suggs, or Jonathan Kuminga plays a huge part for Golden State, or if he gets traded or whatever, another team. Evan Mobley looks up and damn, Evan Mobley is one of the best forwards in the league. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, and that's just how good that this draft has been. And we knew that this was a deep draft. Hell, everyone was saying before the draft that this is one of the deepest drafts probably since 2003. Not saying it's on the same level as 2003, but one of the deep drafts since then. And we're seeing it. We're seeing people that were undrafted hooping. So man, the league is in good hands, man. The league is in good hands, and it's exciting to see. I'm excited to see what happens moving forward. And definitely this season coming up, and especially how these players look when the stars come. Like how does Jonathan Kuminga play alongside Draymond Green and Steph and Clay when he comes back? Moody, how does he play? How does Cade Cunningham, can he take control of the Pistons, or how does he play with a Jeremy Grant? How does is Jalen Green and Josh Christopher, are they going to be able to play with John Wall if John Wall's still there, or Christian Wood? It's just interesting to see, man. Like I just talked about, how is Sharif going to play alongside Trae Young? It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be Scotty Barnes. Can he coincide with Patrick with Siakam? So Pascal Siakam. So it's interesting to see, man. And I'm just in awe to see how good these players are, especially this fast. Now again, I understand the summer league is not the best talent isn't in the summer league, but you're seeing these players ball out. I mean, at the end of the day, they're still good players in the summer league. So, I'm excited to see, what it looks like moving forward. So, so moving forward. So Kawhi Leonard, we all knew he was pretty much going to re-sign with the Clippers, but he signs a 4-year, $176 million max deal to stay with the Clippers. And I said we were going to talk. I said I was going to talk about this, and now I can't pretty much hold it off. Kawhi Leonard is an incredible player. He's an incredible player. He is arguably the best two-way player in the league. He is an incredible talent. He could be one of the top 10 defensive players ever as far as on-ball defense. Kawhi Leonard is just that good. And it makes sense. I understand why anybody would give Kawhi Leonard a 4-year, $176 million deal. I understand that. But the question is this. And it's hard to fathom it a little bit, but is Kawhi Leonard worth that much for the Clippers? Oh, you know what? Let me say, is Kawhi Leonard worth that much as far as his production? Kawhi Leonard won a championship with the Spurs. He also won a championship with Toronto. Now, excuse me. When you look at that championship with Toronto was an incredible team. He was, of course, the leader. When you have him, Kyle Lowry, Danny Green was playing good. OG Anunoby came and he was playing good. Pascal Siakam was playing out of his mind in the finals. Serge Ibaka was very important. They won a championship, and of course, he was the best player. He was their best player, most important player. But let's not forget how many let's not forget what happened. Not only on the road to the NBA Finals, but when they got there. It took an incredible 4-bounce game winner in Game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers to do that. And, of course, they beat Giannis and the Bucks fair and square, yeah. But when they got to the championship, Steph was hurt. KD was hurt and missed. I mean, he only played like 11 minutes of the entire finals with a ruptured Achilles. Klay Thompson got hurt. Boogie was not 100%. It's just the team broke down. Now, why do I ask, is Kawhi Leonard worth the 4 years, $176 million for the Clippers? What do you get out of Kawhi? You get when he's on the floor, Kawhi Leonard is still an incredible player, still probably arguably one of, if not the best two-way player in the game. But you're getting someone that is not going to play all of this or the whole season. While, yes, he does play some of his best basketball, or he does play his best basketball in the playoffs, you're not really getting a leader. You're not getting a person that can galvanize a team. You're not getting a person that can galvanize like if y'all are down, as we saw. You're not going to get someone that can rally. You're not getting a real vocal leader. And then the thing that I question most is we saw what the Clippers look like with Kawhi Leonard out. Now, no. Do not hear me say, I'm not saying that the Clippers can win a championship without Kawhi Leonard. I'm not saying that at all. The Clippers cannot win a championship with Kawhi Leonard. If Paul George is your best player, you're not winning a championship. That's no offense to Paul George. Paul George is still an incredible player. At his best, he's still a top 10 player, arguably. But you're not winning a championship if Paul George is your best player. You can win a championship if Kawhi Leonard is your best player, but you cannot win a championship if Paul George is your best player. However, you also, and it's weird, as good as Kawhi Leonard is, and he is good, he is great, he is arguably a top 5 player in the league. Kawhi Leonard, how do I say it, man? Kawhi Leonard's ceiling and floor is incredible when you think about it. When Kawhi Leonard's at his best, and of course his team around him is playing at his best, they're a championship caliber team. That's why a lot of people picked the Clippers when they first got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That's why a lot of people picked the Clippers last year. But we've also seen the floor. We've also seen Kawhi Leonard on the team that was down or blew a 3-1 lead. Blew a 3-1 lead. We also saw the team that was forced 7 games to the Dallas Mavericks. We also saw the team without Kawhi Leonard that looked incredible against Utah this year, and that damn near beat the Phoenix Suns to make it to the Western Conference. We get to the NBA Finals. The first, a team that made it to the Western Conference Finals first year ever in their existence. So, while yes, Kawhi Leonard's talent warrants a 4-year, $176 million extension deal, has his production for the Clippers warranted that? Because the Clippers didn't bring him to this team to just be okay. They didn't bring him to this team to just make it to the Western Conference Finals. They didn't bring him to this team to keep getting his face blown in by Luka Doncic. Like, they brought him to this team to win a championship and compete for a championship. And I do think that they can compete for a championship, or they are a championship caliber type team without him. But let me say this. I think that in order to justify this deal for the Clippers and for Kawhi Leonard, he has to win, at least make it to a championship. And I think that that's tougher than ever. Like I said, Golden State's going to be back healthy. Of course, the Lakers, and you see what they're doing. Utah's still up there. Denver's still up there. Luka in Dallas is still up there. Phoenix is still up there. So To me, I understand why you give him this contract. I understand. I mean, it's Kawhi Leonard, and you didn't blow up the damn team to get Kawhi Leonard and Paul George just to see him go in like 2 years. I understand that. But I think that Kawhi Leonard has to win a championship, or at least make it to a championship, in order for this deal to be okay. Because if you look at the end of this deal, if you look at the end of this deal and you look at the end of Paul George's deal, and you look up, they don't even make it to the NBA Finals, then you can argue that this was probably one of the worst deals. Not just this one, but one of the worst transactions in NBA history, because they moved mountains. My fault. They moved mountains, man. Draft picks, players. They moved mountains for these two players. And they arguably jeopardized their future for the current. They pretty much threw away the future for the current. I mean, remember, they had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is still a very young, good point guard or shooting guard, however you want to play him. They had Landry Shamet. They had a whole bunch of draft picks. They had Lou Williams. They had Montrezl Harrell. They blew that all up for Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and then they gave them extensions. They gave him, if you look up 4 years down the road, or 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George not only don't have a championship, but didn't even make it, then you really have to question, was this a smart move? Because you don't make this move just to be a relevant team. You don't make this move to just be a middle-of-the-pack team. You don't make this move to be so close to the finals and never make it. You make this move to win an NBA championship. And if you don't, you're gonna have to really question then what was the value of Paul George, what was the value of Kawhi Leonard. If you look up, and I think this topic is really important, because it's tough right now for me to see a path where the Clippers win a championship. I think that they can make it, and of course I think they can win, but it's tough. With the West getting back reloaded, with the moves that the Lakers made, the health of Golden State, them getting back, and of course we need to see if they make any moves for a star player. Like, what if they get Ben Simmons? What if Damian Lillard finally gets a good number two? Like, what if Luka messes around and gets a Damian Lillard type player? Like, it's not to mention, say the league stays the way it is right now, and the Clippers mess up and end up making it to the NBA Finals. Then do you see them beating a Brooklyn Nets team? A completely healthy Brooklyn Nets? Do you see them beating a completely healthy Bucks team? It's tough, man. It's tough. But we're going to need to see what happens moving forward. So I'm excited. And again, honestly, I know I said at least make it, but I think that they don't give it, from what the production that we've seen from Kawhi Leonard before this deal. You don't sign this deal hoping you just make it to an NBA Finals. You sign this deal hoping that he gets you and wins you an NBA championship. And while I think if they make it to an NBA championship within this 4 years, it's not going to be a completely bad deal, or whatever. But if they don't even make it to an NBA Finals in this 4 years, you're going to have to look up and say, wow, that was one of the most eye-popping worst moves in league history, trading your current and your future for two players pretty much, and trying to build around them and it not working. So, we'll definitely see how it goes moving forward. So we'll see. But Shouts out and congratulations to Kawhi Leonard for getting the bag. Again, 4 years, 176 million, especially all the money that he's been paid in his career. Shouts out to you, my guy. Shouts out to you. And lastly, oh man. So, I don't like being. Sometimes it's hard to zig when everyone's zagging, Sometimes it's hard to go against the grain sometimes. Because, Kawhi has kept the grain. Going with the grain is sometimes very easy and very comfortable. But I'm going to end my show like this. We just saw Isaiah Thomas. First of all, shouts out to Isaiah Thomas. But we just saw Isaiah Thomas drop 81 points in a Pro-Am game. And Jamal Crawford's Pro-Am game, to be exact. And now everyone's saying, from Kendrick Perkins to Isaiah Thomas himself to a lot of NBA players, they're pretty much saying that Isaiah Thomas deserves to still be in the league. First and foremost, I've seen some of these Pro-Am games, from Jamal Crawford's Pro-Am to the Drew League. You see a lot of these, Pro-Ams, and of course athletes show out. This is the same Pro-Am I've seen. What's his name, bruh? Dang. I've seen some. Spencer Haas has gone crazy in these Pro-Ams. Spencer Haas. When Isaiah Thomas was at his best, and that's undoubtedly when he was with the Boston Celtics. Isaiah Thomas was an incredible scorer, especially at his height. I think he scored the most fourth quarter points those seasons that he was there. I think he has one of the highest, I think he has one of the highest field goal percentages and field goal outputs in fourth quarters when he was with Boston. But even in all that, what was Isaiah Thomas? Isaiah Thomas was a short point guard who was an incredible scorer but did absolutely nothing else. He wasn't the best. He wasn't good at assists, so he didn't really have court vision as far as assisting and passing the ball. And because of his height, he was god awful. In fact, out of he was the worst, I think, statistically, defender of every single player when he was at his apex, when he was at his when he was at the top of the mountain of his talent. He was the worst defender in the league. And you can look it up. That's not even an exaggeration. He was the worst defender in the league. And then, he gets traded to Cleveland, goes to the Lakers, ends up with the Wizards. And then, of course, injuries started to hit. Injuries started to set in. And the scoring that you're used to in Boston just wasn't there anymore. I don't know if he couldn't do it due to injury. It just wasn't there anymore. The system wasn't there for him. The league caught up to him. It just wasn't there. And do I think that Isaiah Thomas is a bad player right now? No. But do I think that he is still good enough to be in the league? Think about it like this. Would you pick Isaiah Thomas right now over Colin Sexton? Over Darius Garland? Would you pick Isaiah Thomas right now? Again, we're going off of Pro-Am, and don't get me wrong, shouts out to all the players in the Pro-Am, but we're talking about Pro-Am, where these are just players that probably work at Best Buy. Some of them players in them Pro-Am. This is also the same Pro-Am, bruh. Would you pick Isaiah Thomas right now over Ish Smith? Because I wouldn't. Look, man, there's plenty of great leagues overseas. There's plenty of great Pro-Ams, I guess he can do, Drew League and stuff. But I just don't think, because we saw him score 81 points in a Pro-Am, that means he automatically can duplicate that or still be a serviceable player in the league. Because again, who is he guarding? Is he gonna guard who is he guarding? Who do you think he's guarding? And again, I'm not trying to burst his bubble. If he gets back into the league, great. I want everyone to be the best player that they can be. But the Isaiah Thomas that I've seen recently in the league, and I understand that could be due to injury, and he could come back and kill, and I will come here and say that I'm wrong. But the Isaiah Thomas that I saw the last few years should not be in the league. Yeah, you can go crazy in a Pro-Am. Hell, we just saw Kevin Porter Jr. and shouts out to him. He's incredible. Him and DeJounte Murray go for like 50 and 48 in a Pro-Am. What? Didn't Jamal Crawford just go for like 90 in a Pro-Am? So again, man, shouts out to Isaiah Thomas. It's not here to disrespect. I'm just saying, don't let a Pro-Am fool you. A Pro-Am is not the NBA. And just because a player is great in a Pro-Am doesn't mean he's good enough to still be in the league. Now, again, he could go back in the league and be incredible and prove me wrong, and I will be the first to come here and say, yo, I was wrong. My man's killing. But the Isaiah Thomas that I've seen the last few years, ever since that incredible run that he had in Boston, yeah, I don't think that's there no more. I haven't seen it, at least. So, yeah, man. And that has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast, man. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, man. I enjoy doing this twice a week, man. It's a lot. I was just thinking like, damn, I just recorded like a few days ago. But I appreciate you guys, man. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, sweater, hoodie, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different designs, multiple different colors, multiple different sizes. Go get your merch today. Hey, man. Hey, go get your merch today. It looks good, bro. It looks good on you. It looks good on me. Go get your merch. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. After you subscribe, tell them to subscribe as well. Definitely appreciate it. Again, I thank you guys for continuing to rock with me. We're chugging along, man. We're chugging along. And until next time, much love.